decorated combat veteran, veteran community leader, and candidate for Clark County Commission. Do you know no veteran has served on the commission in nearly 30 years, which is why our veteran homelessness, unemployment, and suicide rates are out of control. So here's the call to action. June 11th, vote veteran, vote Kane for Clark County. Let's rally behind someone who's been in the trenches, who knows the sacrifices, and who's committed to making a real difference. Join the campaign by searching Elect Hunter Kane on social media or go to www.electhunterkane.com.
The Klondike Casino is a friendly local spot that features their signature restaurant, the Klondike Grill, serving up fresh food fast. Open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner just off the 95 freeway on Sunset Road in Henderson. You will find the Klondike Casino, featuring all your favorite games from the Strip in the comfort of a neighborhood casino. You can place a bet at their full-service sports book, or start your day with a breakfast plate that comes with your choice of potato and toast. Or check us out for lunch or dinner and try one of our many sandwiches, like the popular beer-battered fish sandwich or the Philly cheesesteak. Check out the full menu at KlondikeSunset.com.
Is your dog suffering from a sensitive stomach? Hi, it's Kelly the Cookie Lady from Mooch's Munchies. Our dogs had super sensitive tummies, and I needed to find a low-fat treat that wouldn't give them gas or other issues. Most of the treats on the market were loaded with fillers, chemicals, and chicken fat. Many of them weren't even food. Well, I knew I could do better, so I developed Mooch's Munchies, and I'm happy to be able to share them with you. Stop by our store or our website, moochesmunchies.com, and find out why we say that Mooch's Munchies are totally pawsome.
Back, it is Pushing the Limits on a Thursday. Thank you so much for joining us. Numchuck, I heard a rumor that we were giving some tickets away. Do you know what show it is? I don't know. I forgot.
Jersey Boys.
Jersey Boys, that's right.
Jersey Boys, baby.
Thank you for reminding me. I'd like to reward our listeners. So here's what I'm going to do. I have teamed up with Jersey Boys, which is a great show, by the way. I've interviewed the guys from Jersey Boys. They're very talented. They have a show at the Orleans. I've been giving out tickets all week, and people are very happy. And I want to take care of my listeners right here. So, you have to live in Las Vegas, right? I don't want somebody from the other side of the country winning these tickets and then selling them.
Unless they're coming to Vegas.
Correct. Well,
so, I mean,
we prefer if you live here. So right now, fifth caller. That's what we're going to do. Fifth caller right now, you just scored a pair of tickets to see Jersey Boys at the Orleans Arena. How cool is that?
You are just making me work today. I love it.
I am. Yes, I am. 702-221-7283. The number again is 702-221-SAVE. 702-221-7283. Fifth caller right now, you just scored yourself a pair of tickets to see Jersey Boys at the Orleans Arena. As far as I know, we're the only station in town giving away these tickets. So check it out. Fifth caller right now.
Jersey Boys.
Jersey Boys. The big man, Paul Mokeski, joining us in studio, the former 12-year NBA veteran and 20-year coach. Mo, it's good to see you. How you doing?
Good to be in here, man.
Didn't
hear you yelling too much today. That's a nice sign.
I try to speak really slowly and calmly to my MAGA audience. I try to.
That's a coaching technique, right? So when you're in the huddle and you want to get somebody's attention, you talk really slowly and lightly, and then they start leaning in to try and hear you. Then you got them.
So that's how
that's
you do
a coaching trick.
Did you ever have any players that you coach that just don't yell at me, don't raise your voice to me? Did you ever have anybody come at you like that?
Not really. When I was in Fort Worth with Sidney Moncrief, we had a player after the game, not yelling, but speaking pretty loudly to us after the game that we won, by the way. You can't steal my basketball spirit. We're like,
what?
We're not trying to steal your
basketball spirit.
I think he wanted to play a little more, but not really. I mean, people are in their players are now so sensitive.
They really are, aren't they?
And they air stuff out on social media or in the press that was never done. Everything was done in the locker room, on the practice court. It was a family, and our problems or situations stay inside the family.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, we live in a day and age now where it seems like players are soft, parents are soft, right? The whole 9 yards, right? I mean, that's what it seems like to me.
Well, a few years back, it changed when I was coaching, where coaching turned into criticism. So I have to take the criticism and creative criticism or instruct. I mean that's when it started, and criticism is me telling you your jump shot sucks. Coaching is, hey, your shot's not where it needs to be. Let's go work
Right.
on it. Here's what we
Yeah.
do. But that was what all the players were saying. Hey, I got to take coach's criticism. No, that's instruction. It's not criticism. It's coaching.
Right. Speaking of criticism, I don't know if you had a chance to watch any of the UNLV Air Force game yesterday. I cannot believe that first of all, that game was tough to watch. UNLV played well, and they did what they needed to do. Air Force is absolutely terrible. And I say to myself, how did you get thumped on your home court against this awful basket? They're awful. They're heroes, okay? They're heroes who serve this country. But as far as a basketball team, they are awful. And like I'm watching the game yesterday, I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, some of those good Bishop Gorman teams would beat this Air Force team. They really are terrible.
So how much did they beat UNLV by?
I think it was like 35 or something. Yeah,
and
they got thumped.
And UNLV just beat them by 40.
Oh,
Is
yeah,
that
they
right?
killed-
So that's a 70, almost an 80.
Air
point
Force only
difference?
had like 4 or 5 field goals or 6 field goals in the entire second half. I mean, they scored like in the 40s. I mean, it's just like, it's terrible. They're terrible.
So that's a team playing at home, underestimating an opponent, and not being prepared
Yeah.
mentally, emotionally to play, and they took it for granted. And no matter how bad you are, you can get hot. Momentum can change, and in this day and age, you can hit some threes in a row, and you can put some pressure on somebody. So you should never take anybody for granted,
Right.
Especially if you're UNLV and just a barely above 500 team.
Correct. Really good Colorado State New Mexico game yesterday, by the way. New Mexico, big win at home, a much needed win at home. Here's where I disagree with. Listen, I'm not saying the Mountain West Conference isn't good this year. It's a pretty good conference this year, but I think it's more competitive than it is higher echelon teams. Listen, what San Diego State did last year, incredible. Dutch is a phenomenal coach. He's done a great job. And San Diego State's a good team this year. But I don't see any team, and maybe I'm wrong, I don't see any team in the Mountain West Conference that could go any further than maybe winning 1 or 2 games in the tournament this year. I don't think they're as good as advertised, these teams. Are there a bunch of teams that'll make it to the tournament? Yes. But I don't see any of these teams that are a threat to win a national title. I don't see any of these teams that are, in my opinion, that are capable of making a Final Four. It's a good competitive conference, but I wouldn't say it's like you got top 10 teams in the country. I just don't see any team that's close to that.
No, you have 5 teams in the conference right now that have 20-plus wins. So
Right.
more than likely they'll make the tournament.
Top 50 teams.
Yeah, so they'll
Yes.
make the tournament, but they'll probably lose the second game or the first game.
Right.
And it's really interesting to me that Colorado State, who was ranked, I think, top 12 to begin the season, I saw them play here in Las Vegas, and they were a ranked team, and they've dropped to, I don't know, 7th or 8th in the
Yeah.
conference.
Yeah.
They're still 20-7, but they've dropped in that conference, and that says that the conference is balanced, but maybe not that talented.
Yes, I tend to agree with you. You still have 2 teams that are in their top 25, and Colorado State is one of them, and they're coming to Las Vegas on Saturday, a big game for UNLV, because this could have a huge say, and UNLV, by the way, already lost to Colorado State on the road. This could have a huge say in who's going to be in the play-in game, right? Right now, UNLV, correct me if I'm wrong, I think they might be 5th or 6th, and Colorado's actually behind them by a game
they're
now.
6th in Colorado State. 7th,
Yeah, so I mean, you don't want to fall to 7th. This is a huge game, and when you look at what happened in that last UNLV game at home, which was against Nevada Reno, that was a debacle. What happened there in the last couple minutes? You can't lose that basketball game. Steve Alford's done a great job. Good basketball coach, done a good job. I know it didn't work out for him at UCLA, but he did a good job at New Mexico. He's a really good coach in this conference, and I think he's a really good coach. Just didn't work out for him at UCLA. That happens sometimes, but Alford knows what he's doing, and
he's got a good staff too.
Noodles is a really good.
I played with
good
him in
coach, too.
Cleveland. I've known him for years.
Smart guy.
He's a great recruiter and a good basketball mind.
Yeah, and he's the one who draws up the plays for Steve Alford, and he did a good job, and yeah, I like Noodles a lot. So you got a bunch of teams ahead of UNLV. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I said it yesterday. I'll say it again today. I think Kevin needs to do something in March in order to keep his job. What I mean by that is, at a minimum, you have to get an NIT bid. If you lose in the first round, and I'm not even talking about the playing game, I'm talking about the quarterfinals of the Mountain West Conference tournament. If you lose in the quarters and you don't make it at least to the semis, I don't think you get an NIT invite. Now, with that, they did beat a couple nationally ranked teams. You know, they beat Creighton, which was a big win for them. Creighton just beat the number 1 team in the country, UConn, the other day.
That was a while ago, though.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah.
They did beat New Mexico twice, which is a big deal. They beat Boise State on the road. That's not enough even to get an NIT bid. In order for them to make the NCAA tournament, they have to clear the board in the tournament. They have to win the whole thing. They're not getting in the NCAA tournament. There's too many other teams ahead of them. You have to get an NIT bid. In order to get an NIT bid, that's not a shoo-in.
Well, it's not a shoe-in. They're 15-10 right now. If they get even to 17 wins, and they will, if they will bring the NIT game here to Las Vegas, which is appealing to teams,
That'd be a big deal.
and sponsor it, then they can get in and play a game, actually a home game here if they want.
And I think if you can get to that point where at least you're in some, listen, the CBI or A or whatever the hell it's called, and these other, that's beneath UNLV even now. You can't play.
Well, let's rewind, right? Bill Musselman was at UN in Reno, and he played in that CCBB, whatever that was, won that. Then the next year he played in the NIT and won that, and then he went to the NCAA and had I think a Final 8 run or something like that, and then he got his promotion. So
but that was rebuilding. Musselman is a great coach. He's doing a great job at Arkansas.
His job's on the line.
Well, I don't think it should be because you look at the year he had last year.
Yeah, but this year, it's all what you did this year, and he's struggling big time.
I don't think his job is on the line. I think you have one bad year. If you have a couple in a row, then I would agree with you. I don't.
If you have one bad year in NBA, you're out. If you have one in college, you got some leeway.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. I think he's got some leeway here. Speaking of the NBA, why don't we move on to that?
Well, let's talk about UNLV. You know, because I heard your guys' conversation.
Yeah.
And you were talking about off the ball actions and staggered aways and getting shots for shooters and stuff like that, which. I text you and I could fix that in a week probably. But one of the things that when I looked at the numbers a little bit, I haven't really paid that much attention to the team. I've watched them a little bit, but if I went in there now and I'm looking at their team, the one thing I would talk about right away is they have too many bad 3-point shooters taking a lot of 3-point shots. So that's one thing I would just eliminate. Like Keelan Boone. Is shooting 32% from the 3. He's taken 89. Rodriguez is shooting 30% from the 3. He's taken 114, almost the most on the team. And Webster is shooting 29% from the 3 and has taken almost 100 threes already. So the first thing I do is bring them together and say, listen, you can't take 5 or 6 threes a game. You can take 3. And then when you get up to 35%, now you can start taking more. I'm telling you, that would fix a lot of what's going on right now. You got bad guys taking too many threes and good 3-point shooters not taking enough threes. That's a quick fix right there.
Interesting. That makes sense to me. I feel like their offense is very stagnant, and most of the time it's always your star freshman point guard with the basketball and 4 guys standing around, or maybe Boone with a high pick and roll top of the key. And I just feel like their offense is stagnant, and it hurts you the most in March when the game is more physical, when points are harder to come by, and I feel like it's going to come back to bite them in March. Now, I could make the argument, I believe, that UNLV has just as much talent than any other team in the league. Maybe you could make the argument Utah State has more talent, but they have just as much talent as New Mexico, maybe more. I would say more if you take every position collectively. They're very good post players. Whaley had a heck of a game yesterday, but he's had some really good games the last 5 or 6 games. He doesn't get the ball in the post enough. The Boone brothers are good college basketball players. You got one kid who's really good underneath the basket. You got another kid who can shoot the lights out 3. Rodriguez isn't used enough. He's a two-way player. He's a really good defensive player, and he can score and he can shoot the 3. And, of course, your star point guard, who happens to be 19 years old, may have potential of playing in the NBA one day. The talent is there. And I said at the beginning of the year, Kevin did a good job recruiting. He got some good transfers coming in here. I look at a team, how much do you get out of the team, out of the talent that you have? You cannot tell me he's getting the maximum out of the talent. That was my criticism of Dave Rice for years. Lon Kruger, Kevin's father, the legend. And I don't want to compare the two. It's unfair to Kevin, but Lon always seemed to get the maximum out of the talent he had. Legendary college basketball coach. And when you look at some of the best college coaches of all time, some of them have championships, no doubt, but year to year they always seem to get the maximum out of the talent they have, no matter who they recruit. And I just don't see that with Kevin. And to me, that's been the biggest issue with UNLV for many years since Lon Kruger. Now, Jerry Tarkanian had some of the best players, probably the best 5 players in college basketball.
Yeah. Jerry was not an X and O guy. Let's put it that way. But he knew how to get talent.
He knew how to get players, and he also, I'll give him credit, he knew how to motivate. I hear a lot of stories in practice. He was a very good motivator. Sure. You're right, not necessarily the X and O guy, but boy, he motivated those guys. And
part of it is getting players to play hard and, play together and do what you want. Yeah.
And as good as those teams were offensively, they were just as good defensively. They just locked in. They took it upon themselves. You know what I love? I love guys like, I mean, obviously Kobe Bryant is one example of, there's not many Kobe Bryants out there. But Kobe always took it upon himself, right? And you've probably heard these stories where he would say, I want to know who their best player is. I want to guard them.
Yeah, I didn't hear it. I saw it.
Yeah.
I saw it. When I was with the Dallas Mavericks, he wanted to guard Dirk. I saw it personally. Yeah, so. But let's get back to like UNLV's team, right? So they did a good job bringing the Boone brothers here, both at Oklahoma State. The older one went to Pacific for a year, and then they came here. One's a really good post-up player. One's a good scorer, not a good shooter, by the way. He's shooting 42% from the field, 32 from the 3. So he's not a knockdown shooter, but he can score. So you've done a good job getting players here. You got to put them in the right position. And you said it yesterday. If I'm playing you, and I know pretty much at the end of the game for sure, and when you're going to run a high pick and roll with the freshman point guard and another player, I'm going to mess you up. I'm going to throw traps at you. I'm going to throw zones at you. I'm going to throw switches at you. I'm going to do whatever I want. So if you keep doing the same thing over and over, and now you're talking about in March where they know what you do, they've seen film, they played you, then that's going to be a problem. That's when you have to put, horns twist or pistol action, dribble handle, all this other stuff that you can use in to throw people off. And, I was really upset and let some people know the other day when Giannis came out for the Milwaukee Bucks and said, you know what, I don't know what player stats are. I don't know what their video is. I don't know what their tendency is. I think it's exciting for me to go in a game and not know it. What? That's not what you do when you try to win games. You know players' tendencies. You know teams' tendencies. And that's how you adjust and make them not do what they don't want to do. Don Nelson, one of the greatest coaches ever, when I went into coaching, I met with him and talked with him. I said he had a lot of comments for me, a lot of things that you should do. And one of them was, don't let the other team dictate to you what you do.
Right.
You dictate to them. So if I know what you're doing and I can throw different defenses at you and throw a wrench in it, then I'm going to be ahead of the game. And that's that high pick and roll action. You got to be more creative and do other stuff. And when Giannis said that, in my opinion, I voiced it, that's selfish. If you're coming into a game, and because it's exciting for you, I'm not going to watch I'm not going to go stats and tendencies. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to make it exciting for me. That's not the best way to help your team win. Mm-hmm. So and I think that goes back to your high pick and roll action that really stagnates an offense, and everybody else stands around, and guys run to the corners. You know what they're going to do. Mm-hmm. Well, the Warriors do that stuff, but when you run to the corner, you set a flare pick, and that guy goes back door, and you have movement going on. There's a play now where you run the high pick and roll, and you also have a shooter come set a back pick for that guy that's picking, and he rolls to the basket, Boone, and then the other guy pops, and now you have action going on. So, some of those things that can happen, they're not like drastic changes.
No. And it seems to me Kevin is a great guy. I root for him, man. He's an easy guy to root for. But it seems to me that he doesn't have the correct temperament to be a head coach here at UNLV. And what I mean by that is, I said the same thing about Dave Rice, also a great guy. You have to hold players accountable. And Kevin has that feisty spirit. He was a great player. He did a great job at UNLV when he played his senior year, helped them to a Sweet 16. Very competitive guy, right? He's got that competitive nature, which I love. But there's a time and a place where I think you have to hold players accountable. I'm not sure that he does that enough. So we'll have to wait and see what happens.
And that starts from day one.
Exactly.
And here's what you do. And when if you're going to be a head coach, you have deficiencies. So if I'm a head coach, I'm going to hire assistant coaches that take care of that efficiency. If I'm a rah-rah guy and get you play spiritual guy, then I'm going to hire a guy that's an X and O guy and has schemes down and can help me there. If I'm an X and O guy that doesn't hold players accountable, then I'm going to hire some assistant or associate head coach that's going to do that for me. And I think it goes into staff situation also.
Yeah, no, I tend to agree with you on that. We're rooting for Kevin. We want him to have a great March.
That's a great guy.
I think
yes.
he'll certainly save his job if he does something spectacular in March. And let's hope he does that. Starts Saturday. You're playing against a top 25 Colorado State team. A big game that could have huge implications.
Where's that at?
It's going to be at the Thomas and Mack Saturday at 5 o'clock.
Students, listen, I'm from Kansas. We sell out every game.
Yeah.
You have to camp out to get in and watch the team play. This is a chance for you to watch your team play against a great team and help them get over the hump.
Right.
So there's more excitement. Go out and support your team. Support the Running Rebels.
Yeah, I agree with you. And this is a big game. This is a huge game on Saturday on national television. So hopefully the fans will come out for that. They did a good job when Nevada came in, but you got to be consistent. All right, let's talk a little bit about the NBA All-Star Weekend and the debacle that was. The commissioner was not very happy. Why? Well, you want to talk about literally no defense. You don't expect there to be a lot of defense in an all-star game, but you'd like to see some defense. Scoring records were broken. There was absolutely no defense. And I believe in an all-star game, even though it is an all-star game, and even though we know that some of these guys like Lillard and Steph and those guys can pull the trigger and shoot from half court.
Crazy.
Okay, we understand that they have that kind of ridiculous range. But it shouldn't be happening in a basketball game. Number one, I think it sets a really bad example for young people watching. Number two, I think most fans would agree they want to see some competitive nature to the basketball game. Doesn't mean in the first 3 quarters we don't want to see some dazzling dunks and see how athletic these guys are. But the commissioner was visibly unhappy after the basketball game. Mo, in your estimation, what would you do to fix this problem?
Well, and like we know, it's a weekend. It's a semi-working weekend for the All-Stars, right? They're celebrated for their skills and their talent and everything. But at some point, if you're playing a game, just stay in front of your guy. You don't have to take a charge. You don't have to block a shot. Just stay in front of your guy and make it somewhat competitive. And they've tried everything to do that, right? They've done the Elam ending. They've done play for charity. They've upped the bonus money. And, people say, well, pay them more money if they win. Well, the average salary of an all-star in the NBA is $35 million. So how much are you going to pay them? You're going to have to make it $1 million for them to be interested. And I don't know, who knows if they're interested anyway. So, I would give it one more shot, right? And what I would do is next year I would do USA versus the world. So you would have, the USA players, LeBron and Curry and all those guys, right? AD against Giannis and the Joker and Luka and the point guard from Oklahoma City. And I'm telling you, those guys, those non-U.S. players, which there's now 40% in the NBA, and the last 5 years, the MVP of the league has been a non-USA player.
Right.
So they would take interest because they're going to try and prove that they can beat you, which would make the USA players play harder. So I would try that.
Yeah.
And if that doesn't work, then I'm going along the lines of the NFL. And by that, I mean people love to see the three-point shooting contest. They like to see the contest with Steph, and I think if Caitlin comes out and Steph and her shoot it out, next year, that'll be great. So I would take away the game, and I would say, okay, add to that a horse competition. Because I don't know if you saw the footage of Luka before the game. He was shooting half-court shots 40 feet in the air.
I saw
40 feet in the air.
And then he was bouncing it off the floor.
Yes.
And, he's got a ridiculous amount of hand coordination. So
and Steph, Lillard, they could shoot from half court. So let's put that in a horse competition. Throw some money at that. Right?
I love that.
Then the next day, and then in the dunk contest, I would have one open spot. Anybody in the world can put in a video, and you have a committee. Maybe it's head up by Doc or Jay with some other guys, and they're going to look at this video.
They would probably win.
You look at this video, and you get one spot for that. There's guys doing dunk contests all over the world making money, 10 grand, 15 grand. Those guys do unbelievable stuff. Take off from the free throw line, top of the key, spins, all kinds of let one open spot for that and see how that does. Then the next day, I would bring back, and you've been here before, one-on-one. Do a one-on-one competition before the main event, right? And I don't know how you would do that. You could, whoever wants to play, maybe you put up money. Right?
Fan voting. Voting.
Yeah, or fan voting. But if I'm a player and I know I can beat everybody, then I'm gonna put up some money. I'll put up 50 grand. Okay, let's go. Winner take all. Then at the end, instead of playing a regular game, I would break all the team into 3-on-3. So you do it by vote. You make captains, and then you vote and you pick your guys, and we play 3-on-3 in a round-robin tournament. You can play 2 games at one time at each end of the court, and you have a round-robin tournament, and then there's a championship, and then winner take all. Because in 3-on-3, you don't jog up and down the floor. You can't hide on defense. You can't hide on offense, and you can't win if you don't play some kind of defense. That's what I would do, and I would fix everything, and then I would be assistant commissioner next to Adam Silver.
I love all those ideas. You've got my vote, and I will say this. It started when LeBron James refused to be in the dunk contest. I remember back in the day when you were playing about 84 years ago. No, I'm just kidding. That was a horrible joke.
Seems like it, though.
Horrible joke. Do you remember, of course, the dunk contest? I don't know if you were there. Were you there watching the Dominique, Michael Jordan?
Yes, I was there. I was at the Chicago Stadium.
That must have been.
Dominique got robbed.
Were you sitting on the floor?
No, I was probably 30 rows up, 20 rows up.
And you watched the Dominique Jordan. Was that the best dunk contest of all time?
Could be. Spud Webb.
I remember
freaky.
that. Yeah.
Larry Nance, my teammate.
Rex Chapman could get it up there,
Larry
too.
Nance, you should see his 2-ball dunk. Not like this, like this and that.
Yeah.
Like, but Dominique was the power guy and MJ was the finesse guy. I'm going to tell you, when I played in the 80s, you're talking about Larry Nance's and all these guys, MJ and everything. But the most dangerous guy, 2 guys. Dominique Wilkins, number 1, you don't want to get dunked on because it was hard, and Charles Barkley that would dunk on you with purpose. So those were those 2 guys. But those guys, that dunk contest, the arena was electric. I mean, it was just crazy.
I remember I used to play NBA Jam. Were you in NBA Jam? Milwaukee Bucks, no?
No, I'm in NBA 2K right now. You can play for the Bucks and the
I remember
Golden State
NBA
Warriors.
Jam that you always used to watch.
You're on
Tom,
fire.
You're on fire. Tom Chambers, the Tom Chambers
Yeah,
dunk.
with a knee in the chest.
And who is the Johnson, the former mayor who?
Kevin Johnson.
Yeah, Kevin Johnson.
Yes.
Whatever happened to him? Wasn't he accused of sexually assaulting somebody? And that was the end of his political career. I don't know. It was a while ago.
Starks from New York.
Oh yeah, I remember
dunker.
that dunk. I
Yeah.
remember that one-handed jam. Was that over Jordan?
Yes.
It's over
Pippen.
Jordan.
I think it was Pippen.
Was it Pippen?
Pippen, but it was
Pippen.
in that game.
That was
the
wild.
little spinning thing.
The
Yeah.
Tom Chambers dunk is pretty good too.
Yeah,
When he
yeah.
just looks like he's on stairs.
Yeah.
Those were the days. The late great Daryl Dawkins,
Oh.
Chocolate Thunder, right?
Yeah.
Is that his nickname?
Yes.
A guy that used to have nicknames for all of his
name
dunks.
is Dunks,
He just recently passed away a few years ago. A guy that you played against. Really fun to watch him. Of course, Dr. J, a
Yeah.
friend of yours who
Rock the Baby. And,
yeah,
and
yeah. I mean, those days of the ABA, right, where he,
Yeah.
it was.
Well,
pretty,
he did the dunk against the Lakers. That's probably one of the best ever.
Speaking of the Lakers, I'm so glad you brought that up. The Lakers are favored not to make the playoffs right now. They're a slight favorite not to make the playoffs. Is Ham fired if they miss the playoffs?
Probably. I think they're going to make the playoffs. I think they might get out of the play-in into the playoffs. Maybe that's a long shot.
Why are they struggling?
I think they've been hurt a little bit, and I think I put some crease. You saw them right in the in-season tournament. they put their all into that for whatever reason. I think people think, well, they're going to make $500,000. No, I don't think so. Like LeBron and AD and those guys wanted to be the first ever to win that NBA tournament because they will be the first ever forever.
So I was, as you know, not to brag, but I was on the court for all those games, and I watched LeBron James looking like a 25-year-old kid, which leads me to believe, I'm not saying he can do that in a 7-game series, but he is capable of playing at that level. He is capable, when he gives it his all, to be the best player in the league. Two-way. I watched him play defense, watched him score at will, but what I was impressed with is not necessarily his offensive talent and how fast he was running and how quick he was, but I was impressed with his defense. He made Zion Williamson look like a child out there.
He took a challenge.
He took the challenge, and he made Zion look really bad.
The big question mark of the Lakers is, and I'm not a fan, is D'Angelo Russell. I just don't trust him.
I don't like him.
I mean, he went on a big run and played really great before the trade deadline and didn't get traded, but I don't trust him at the point, and they also made a trade, man, I can't remember his name, for a player that hasn't played at all this year. I think it was with Denver or somebody.
You're talking about, Christian Wood.
No,
hasn't gotten any time, but he didn't come from Denver.
It was before that.
Okay.
And he, man, I can't remember his name, but
here's
he
what
hasn't played all year, and he was a great role player, I think, for Denver.
He's a shooter. He's a shooter.
He's a wing, yeah.
Gabe.
Yes. Gabe Vincent.
Gabe Vincent.
Yes.
Miami Heat.
Yeah. So he hasn't played all year.
He can shoot.
Yeah. So he would add to that.
Two guys that are serviceable
They also
players,
picked up Dinwiddie, who's a really good shooter too. So that'll help him. I think with their mentality, and LeBron's obviously at the end of his career, and the talent they have, their roster looks pretty solid now. They can make a legitimate run.
Well, there were rumblings the last few weeks that LeBron might be traded. There were rumblings that he could be traded to the Golden State Warriors. It's interesting because Gary Payton personally. I got a chance to know him because I was sitting right next to him for the NBA games that were here. And a part of our conversation, we talked about a lot of different things, but was this mentality now of teams going to rival teams. And Gary said he would have never gone and played with Michael Jordan. He would have never gone and played, with the Lakers.
You see Larry Bird going to play with Magic or the Lakers
no,
or the other way around?
It's a joke.
Yeah.
These guys are friends. And Gary said, when they were filming commercials together or something, they would spend a day together, and that was it. They didn't have drinks together. They didn't have dinners together. They weren't buddy-buddy. And all these guys in the NBA now, I'm sure they're really nice guys, but they're all like buddy-buddy and friends with their rivals. And Gary was like, that wasn't the way it was. You weren't coming over to my house for a barbecue. I wanted to kick your ass on the basketball court.
That's part of, and people talk about this, AAU has influenced that for the last 20 years, 15 years. Because when I played, there was no AAU. We played summer league in our own areas.
Right.
Now AAU, the best players like those guys, they play for different teams all summer. They'll go play for this Adidas team in Chicago and then a different one in Florida. And they'll play with these other guys. So then you get relationships. Hey, why don't we go to college together and stuff like that? And the movement is more free now. And I say this a lot. The NBA used to be you cheer for your team, right? You're a Celtic fan. You cheer for them or the Bulls. Now you cheer for a player. I'm a LeBron guy. I'm a Curry guy. So even if LeBron moved around, right, he went all over the place. KD went all over the place. And but LeBron being traded, LeBron will never, ever, ever, never be traded unless he wants to.
Yeah, I'm with you. I miss the days that you were playing. Even though I was very young, I miss the late 80s, even the early 90s and mid-90s, NBA and NBC. I just feel like that's why I enjoy watching the G League. I really enjoy watching the Ignite basketball and these games because it reminds me of the CBA a little bit back in the day. These are all professional basketball players that are working hard, playing hard. These are all really skilled players. And I know we're going to go to the G League Ignite game this weekend. I really enjoyed going to my first game last week, and I'm going to be going to more games. They're really a lot of fun.
Vegas, I put in a plug for UNLV. Go support them. Go watch the Ignite game. You could sit close to the floor. There are 4 first-round draft picks on the Ignite team, 2 lottery picks. Go watch them play while you can.
They're fun. They're
Yeah.
fun, Mo, and we're
Yeah.
going to be going to the game this weekend. The prices for tickets are very affordable. And again, all these guys are professional basketball players. Some of them are two-way players, NBA. And they're all going to be playing professionally somewhere, but they're trying to get back or get into the league for the first time. Really good basketball, and I had a lot of fun. I really did. It was really fun, and that's why I'm going to be going to more games. And I highly recommend anybody else out there doing the same. All right, that's a wrap. Paul Mokeski, always a pleasure.
So we helped UNLV, we helped the Ignite, and we fixed the All-Star game today.
We fixed it.
Bam.
I'm going to send that clip to the commissioner.
There you go.
And we'll see what they say about that. Mo, always a pleasure
You
having.
won't be surprised. I emailed them. the other
Okay,
day.
good. You should. We should send them that video too. Always a pleasure, Mo. Appreciate you coming in, and we'll see everybody tomorrow. Same time, same place. Have a great day, everybody.